Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm sharing 4 Christmas dinner recipes. They're all easy to make, and even better, they can be made ahead of time so you have more time to spend with your family. Now let's go ahead and get started. This first recipe is a twice baked potato casserole. I started out by roasting 4 pounds of russet potatoes at 425 for about 50 minutes. I removed those skins, then added the potatoes to a large bowl, and to that I added 1 cup of warm milk, a stick of melted butter, half a cup of sour cream, 4 ounces of room temperature cream cheese. I had to microwave mine for a second because I forgot to let it sit out. And for some flavor, I added 1 teaspoon of seasoning salt, 1 teaspoon of regular salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. I started trying to mix this up with my electric mixer, but I decided I wanted to mash them up instead. That way it was a little more chunky instead of smooth and creamy. I also added in a pound of cooked and crumbled bacon. Well, my daughter ended up snacking on it, so I didn't quite have a pound there. Now I just mixed that together until everything was well combined. And I used a 9 by 13 inch baking dish for this. I did grease it with a little butter. Then I poured in that potato mixture. I just kind of spread it out a little here. It does not have to be perfect. Then you're going to top this with about 2 cups of shredded cheese. And I used a mixture of cheddar and mozzarella. I made this the day before, so I covered it with plastic wrap and let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. Then the next day, when I was ready for it, I removed that plastic wrap and covered it with foil and baked it at 375 for about 45 minutes. I did uncover it halfway through so that top would get nice and golden brown. This is a perfect make-ahead casserole for those holiday dinners, and it is absolutely delicious. This next one is a southern recipe. It's pineapple casserole. I'm using 2 cans of pineapple chunks. I'm draining both cans, but I'm going to reserve that juice because I'll need a little bit of it a little later on in the recipe. I just added those pineapple chunks to a separate bowl, and you'll have to let me know if you've ever had pineapple casserole, or if you've ever had it, let me know what you thought about it. It sounds like a weird combination. We love it. So now to a separate large bowl, I added 1 cup of granulated sugar, 6 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and 2 cups of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. I tossed everything around a little bit. Then I added in those drained pineapple chunks. And try not to make a mess here like I did, but mix it until everything is well combined. Now it's time to put this in a casserole dish. And I like to use a 9 by 9 baking dish for this. I did grease it with some nonstick spray. Now I'm pouring in that pineapple mixture. Spread it out evenly. And I know this sounds like a crazy combination with the pineapple and cheese, but stay with me here. Now I'm making a Ritz cracker topping. In a medium-sized bowl, I added 1 stick of melted butter, 6 tablespoons of that reserved pineapple juice, and 1 sleeve of Ritz crackers that I crushed up with my rolling pin. And since I was making this the day before, I could have actually waited to the next day until right before I was ready to bake it to make this topping, but anything I can make ahead of time is a lot easier for me. I stirred up that Ritz cracker mixture, then spooned it over the top of that casserole. Then I covered it with plastic wrap and I let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. And when I was ready to bake it the next day, I just removed that plastic wrap and baked it uncovered at 350 for 25 to 35 minutes. That topping will get nice and golden brown, and it is so good. This is one of my family's favorites. It's a Paula Deen recipe, so you know it's got to be good. And I really hope you give this one a try. Up next is this brown sugar pineapple glazed ham. I'm using a boneless spiral cut ham. It came with this glazed packet. I didn't use it, but you could if you wanted to. I did spray the bottom of my crock pot with some nonstick spray, then I added in that ham. Then on top of that, I'm adding a 20-ounce can of pineapple chunks. I wanted the crushed pineapple for this, but all I had was the chunks, but either one will work. Now I'm adding about a cup of brown sugar. Feel free to reduce that amount or add more if you want. Now I'm topping everything off with about a half of a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I cover this and set it to cook on low for 5 hours. Here it is after it's been cooking for about 5 hours, and it smells amazing. And I don't know about you, but I love using my slow cooker, especially on holidays, because it frees up my oven a little more. I'm usually trying to bake about 3 or 4 casseroles at a time. There are some days when I could really use an extra oven. And on this night, I kept it simple and made some homemade dinner rolls to serve with the ham. My husband was loving this dinner right here. It was so good. This last one is my southern cornbread dressing. I started out by sauteing some veggies. I've got a couple tablespoons of butter in the pan there, and to that I added 1 stalk of celery that I diced up and half a diced onion. And you can add more veggies here if you want, but my husband is not a big celery fan, so I don't add too much of that. I let those cook until they were tender and translucent. Now over to the counter, in a large bowl, I added 4 cups of biscuit crumbs that I just crumbled up with my hands, and 6 cups of cornbread crumbs. I was trying to mix this in that nice glass bowl here so it would look pretty for y'all, but there's no way I could have fit all this in here. So I transferred everything to a big cheap Dollar Tree bowl, and to those breadcrumbs I added those sauteed veggies, and for the seasonings I added a little salt and pepper to taste, and I also added 1.5 tablespoons of sage. Okay, this next ingredient may be a little controversial. I added in 6 boiled eggs, and I did chop those up pretty small. My grandma always added boiled eggs to her dressing, so that's why I do it, but you can totally omit them if you want. I also added in 1 stick of melted butter and 4 to 5 cups of chicken broth. Just add the broth depending on how wet or dry you like your dressing. And now's a great time to taste it and add more seasonings if you want. And when you're happy with the taste, go ahead and add in 3 beaten eggs. This will help to hold the dressing together. Then mix all that until it is very well combined. I'm making this in a 9x13 inch baking dish. I spooned in that dressing mixture because that bowl was way too big and floppy to try to lift and dump in at the same time. Then I covered it with plastic wrap and let it sit in the refrigerator overnight until I was ready for it. Then this bakes at 375 uncovered for about 40 to 45 minutes. Top this with some gravy, and this is like one of the best side dishes ever. Especially if you're from the South. You're sure to find dressing on everyone's holiday dinner table. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and I will see you in the next one.